This small, oddly shaped little tank was a master of simplicity, flanking, and taking on the formidable medium and heavy tanks of the Eastern and Western fronts of World War II. This episode will go into the desperate attempt of Germany creating a wedge to stop the door the Allied forces were opening into the fatherland. Get to your flank positions, grab a snack, and let's get into the forgotten history of the German Jagdpanzer 38T Hetzer. The story of the Hetzer, officially the Jagdpanzer 38T, begins in the dark days of World War II for Germany. By 1943, German forces were playing defense, battling overwhelming Allied numbers on both the Eastern and Western fronts. The need for a cost-effective, efficient tank destroyer became urgent as Germany faced increasing shortages of resources and time. What emerged from this necessity was a piece of technology that would prove to be a small and deadly war machine. A vehicle that would come to symbolize that military vehicles do not have to be over-engineered to be effective. The Hetzer's roots trace back to the chassis of the Czech Panzer 38T, which had been used as a light tank during Germany's early war campaigns. The Panzer 38T itself was based on the pre-war Czechoslovak LTVZ-38, a tank that had impressed the German engineers with its reliability. However, by 1943, the Panzer 38T was outdated as a front-line tank. Instead of discarding the chassis, German engineers repurposed it as the foundation for a new tank destroyer. Based off of a Romanian prototype, the German engineers would refine this crude tank destroyer and start mass production as quick as possible. The design process began in late 1943 with input from BMM in Prague, a former Czechoslovak company now under German control. The requirements were clear. The vehicle needed to be small, well armored, and capable of carrying the 7.5 centimeter pack 39 L48 cannon. It also needed to be simple and economical to produce. The German military during World War II did use tanks without turrets, such as the Sturmgeschütz 3 and the Jagdpanzer 470. Even with these not having turrets, they were still extremely heavy, having heavy armor and being equipped with a large cannon. So, when the American bomber groups destroyed the factories of these tanks in Germany, there was a large need of a simple and light tank destroyer that could get up and running and defend Germany from two fronts pushing in the lines. By January 1944, the first prototypes of the Hetzers were being tested. The design incorporated sharply sloped armor to maximize deflection and survivability. This was a lesson learned from the Soviet T-34, which had caused havoc on the Eastern Front. Despite its small size, the Hetzer's armor reached a formidable 60 millimeters on the front plate, equivalent to the Tiger H1 front armor plate when angled correctly. When the British military got their hands on a captured Hetzer, they noted the absence of any flat sides on the armor. Every piece was angled, yet the front armor was thick, the side wasn't even armor. It was a thin sheet metal that was able to protect from small rifle calibers. This shows how it was only made to ambush and move, not being able to take much punishment while on the move fighting. Production was greenlit in April 1944, with BMM taking the lead in manufacturing. The first operational vehicles rolled off the assembly line in May of 1944, and by the end of the war, over 2,800 units would be produced. If you're enjoying this episode on this unusual doorstop tank, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell. Every action helps this channel grow. Now, let's get back into how this cheese wedge affected the war in Europe. The Hetzer was first issued to units in mid-1944, and its baptism by fire occurred during Operation Bagration, the Soviet offensive push into Belarusia. Its first major deployments came in the defense of German-held territories in Poland and Hungary. The Hetzer's ambush tactics quickly proved deadly against the Soviet T-34s and KV-1s, which often struggled to penetrate its sloped frontal armor. July 1944 saw Hetzers take part in the defense of the Vistula Line, where they were used to reinforce infantry formations. Their low silhouette made them very difficult to spot, and their powerful 7.5 centimeter gun allowed them to destroy tanks from a concealed position. In these early actions, Hetzers operated in small groups, striking quickly and retreating before the enemy could counterattack. By August 1944, Hetzers were being deployed on the Western Front. One notable engagement occurred during the Battle of the Falaise Pocket, where they played a key role in delaying advancing Allied forces. Here, the Hetzer's mobility and ability to fire from hold-down positions allowed it to punch above its weight, destroying Shermans and Cromwells before retreating to the new positions. And in the Ardennes offense in December 1944 marked another significant chapter in the Hetzer's history. During the Battle of the Bulge, Hetzers were used in defensive roles, taking advantage of the dense forest terrain. Their compact size allowed them to navigate areas inaccessible to larger tanks, setting up deadly ambushes on narrow roads and trails. By early 1945, the Hetzer was one of the few German vehicles still being produced in significant numbers. Its relative low cost and ease of production meant it could be churned out even as Allied bombing campaigns devastated the German industry. Germany started to send tank crews for the Jagdpanzer 38T to help finish on the production line and take them straight from the factory and into combat. When the Red Army finally captured the factories, over 2,000 hulls were in production awaiting the 7.5 centimeter cannons. It shows how much Germany was betting on these machines to be the backbone of the defensive force. In March 1945, Hetzers were deployed in the desperate defense of Germany itself. In urban combat scenarios, such as the defense of Berlin, the Hetzer's small size provided advantages. It could hide in rubble-strewn streets and alleys, ambushing advancing Soviet tanks. However, by this point, overwhelming numbers of enemy forces and dwindling German resources meant the Hetzer's contributions were not enough to turn the tide. After the war, many Hetzers were captured by Allies. The Czech army recognized the Hetzer's utility and continue to produce and operate the vehicle under the name ST-1. Some Hetzers even saw action in the Middle East during the 1950s, serving in the secondary roles. Today, the Hetzer is remembered as one of the most effective German tank destroyers of World War II. Its design influenced post-war tank destroyer concepts, and its story is a testament to how necessity can drive innovation. I hope you enjoyed this look on the forgotten history of the Jagdpanzer 38T, also known as the Hetzer. I enjoyed gathering footage and history of this sloped tank destroyer, and I hope you learned some new information. If you know anyone who loved this content, please share with them and help grow this small channel. If there is any tank or plane that you think has a forgotten history, put those down in the comments. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe button so you won't let this history be forgotten. Till the next video, I'll see y'all in the next mission.